Centre has renewed efforts to try and break the impasse between protesting wrestlers and Centre over the sexual harassment complaints against BJP MP Brij Bhushan Singh. Today, the wrestlers held a 6-hour-long meeting with Sports Minister Anurag Thakur, 4 days after a midnight meet with Home Minister Amit Shah. Both sides reached an agreement on several points, but the most important was that wrestlers have hit pause on their agitation till June 15, by which time the government has also agreed to complete the probe against the accused MP and file a charge sheet. In addition to that, the government has also agreed to withdraw cases against wrestlers for their May 28 protest, the day the new parliament was inaugurated. And finally, elections to the Wrestling Federation have also been assured by the end of this month. But is that going to be enough to address the current public sentiment? What is the public sentiment at the agitation which has now carried on for 6 months, especially the developments of the last 2 months? Sea Voter conducted a survey and the findings may surprise you.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Breakthrough seems to be in sight, with the government and wrestlers both engaging in talks and both sides saying that many demands have been agreed to. But what is going to be the political ramification of this? Could it be too little too late? Let's see what the Sea Voter survey found amongst people who were identified as supporters of the BJP or voters of the BJP and those who vote for non-BJP parties. The first question asked to them was, what is your opinion about the ongoing dispute between wrestlers and Brij Bhushan Singh? 70% of those who vote for non-BJP parties said that it's a fight to bring out the truth. And surprisingly, even 49.8%, almost half of the BJP voters who were surveyed, said that it's a fight to bring out truth. Only 12% of non-BJP voters said that wrestlers are using it for politics, and only 28% of NDA voters found it as a political tool. So 50% of BJP voters agree with the wrestlers' cause. The second question, looking at allegations leveled by wrestlers and explanation given by Brij Bhushan Singh, who do they think is speaking the truth? Even here, 74.8% of the opposition vote thinks the wrestlers are speaking the truth. 54.1% of NDA voters think wrestlers are telling the truth, which is an average of 66.5% of the people surveyed are in the corner of the wrestlers. The third question we asked them, or Sea Voter asked them, was about the action taken by the Delhi police so far. Remember, the agitation first was sparked in January. Subsequently, it was called off. Then an FIR was filed a couple of months ago. And since then, the investigation that has taken place, only 12% of opposition voters and 22% of NDA voters are satisfied. But look at this column. Somewhat dissatisfied, completely dissatisfied, averages out to 58%. So 58% of the people surveyed are dissatisfied with the police probe, and of this, 46% are NDA voters, not happy with the action taken so far. So let me open this up now. Joining us on the show today, we have Tushar Gupta, senior editor of Swaraj, Mithun Vijay Kumar, political analyst, Dr. Sunita Godara, Asian marathon champion in '92, Rahul Mehra, lawyer, and Chaudhry Savit Malik, national president of the Kisan Union. My first question though is to Mr. Yashwant Deshmukh, founder and chief editor of Sea Voter. Did you find it surprising that even NDA voters, Yashwantji, are saying wrestlers are speaking the truth and the Delhi police so far is not satisfactory in the action they have taken?
Well, honestly speaking, I'm not surprised, because there are issues which cut across the political line. There are optics which cut across the caste, religion, these kind of electoral equations that we are so used to now to see everything, anything and everything through those lenses and through those optics. So, but when we are talking to people in India, across India, every day on hundreds of issues, there is a sense that we could feel that this could be one of those issues where, even though there is intense political contest that is going on and fight that is going on, this could be one of those issues where general public, people at large, might be, looking at through this, and rather than through the lens of political one-upmanship or political ideological alignment. So this is pretty much coming out in that direction. People have largely spoken what they have seen, what they have understood, whichever narrative they could see through via media or otherwise, and then they have spoken this.
Tushar Gupta, was it a mistake to project this as, a battle between the wrestlers and a political battle against the government, or to say, oh, this is Jats versus other people, or this is Uttar Pradesh versus Haryana? Because look at this. When they are saying that is this political, people don't agree. People are saying, even BJP voters are saying, no, this is not a political fight. This is a fight for the truth. In fact, 62.4% of the people surveyed say it's a fight for the truth, not a fight for supremacy.
Well, the perception indeed wasn't there in the first place that this is a political battle. But what really complicated the matters was when opposition leaders like Arvind Kejriwal or Priyanka Gandhi shared the dice with these wrestlers. Now, from day one, Padmaja, I have been viewing this issue in a very simple way, that there are wrestlers, irrespective of which political parties they're backed by. They represent India. That's how we should see them. And here is someone who's been accused of sexual harassment. And irrespective of whichever party he comes from or whichever government is he a part of, that doesn't matter.
But tell me this, that brings me to question number 3, because people have no other option but to get in political parties or ask for political support if the police is not acting. Everyone is agreeing here, or not everyone rather, there are at least 68% people who are saying we are dissatisfied with the police action. What did the wrestlers have to do? They had to resort to political backing.
And that is where the inaction of the government perhaps comes into play, that they were a little delayed in initiating the conversation. Of course, the Sports Minister Anurag Thakur had reached out to them in January. Some sort of an agreement had been worked out. The wrestlers had called off their protests. But whatever the grievances were, they were surely not completely addressed, and that is why they protested across May. But Padmaja, my only concern is, as much as I want this case to be fast-tracked as an exception, as much as it for the wrestlers to be given their due share of justice, it's also important that we are not swayed by public surveys that interfere with the due investigation.
Okay, is this interference with due investigation? See, there are two things. One is the technical investigative part, and the second is politics and the political sentiment. And very often, and nobody knows this better than the BJP, that elections are more emotional than practical. Most people vote emotionally. Let's take a look at the next question. Do you support the demand of wrestlers to arrest Brij Bhushan Singh even before the investigation is complete? Now, like Tushar Gupta was saying, this seems like an overreach. The law must take its own course, and yet a whopping 55.8% are saying yes, the wrestlers' demand is valid. 26.8% are saying no, it is not valid. 17% don't know. And of this, of people who are saying yes, just arrest Brij Bhushan Singh, 43% are actually NDA voters. Do you think the BJP will suffer electorally due to dispute between wrestlers and Brij Bhushan Singh? The answer to that also is a whopping yes. 1/3 of BJP voters say yes, it will dent the BJP, and 55% of those who vote for non-BJP parties. But take a look at both of these columns combined. Of people who are saying to some extent and very much is almost a 60%, a 55 to 60% vote of people who are surveyed are saying yes, it will dent them. But Rahul Mehra, again going back to that argument, public sentiment is saying, fine, go and arrest Brij Bhushan Singh, but that's not how the law works. And even now, the government today has said, give us time till the 20th, the investigation will be expedited. That's the law taking its course. Rahul Mehra.
I'm sorry, that's not the law taking its own course. That's complete denial of justice taking its own course. And I'll explain how. First of all, please don't lose sight of the fact that there was a colossal delay in even registering an FIR. The wrestlers in question had to actually approach the Honorable Supreme Court. Having seen that the Supreme Court is going to come down heavily on them, that's how the FIR got initiated, investigation got started. Now, this is the very same investigating agency, Delhi Police, which comes under the central government. Brij Bhushan Singh as president is the sitting MP for last 5 or 6 times from the Bharatiya Janata Party. And therefore, just join the dots and you'll understand and realize where all this is headed. So, first of all, the entire investigating agency and the mechanism in which it is being investigated is completely dehorsed law. There is a POCSO, there is a minor who's involved out here, whose statement had been recorded under 164. Immediately after the recording of the statement, Brij Bhushan Singh should have been arrested, as is what is done by the very same investigating agency.
What happens now that the minor has recorded a second statement?
We don't know.
And has made a change?
I don't know. That's your sources which are telling you. Unless and until Delhi Police tells us that that's what has happened. And if that has happened, it is obviously under pressure. It is under duress. The minor and the family must have been pressurized, and therefore there was no question. Once a 164 has been recorded, it's unheard of that you would actually record a second 164.
Well, that is what we are being told by our sources. It has been reported as well by multiple news agencies. That being said, how does that affect the probe itself? Because today the police can say, look, the POCSO case is going to be shut. So all the demands of him being arrested immediately, we can't fulfill those demands. Legally, where does this claim stand? Rahul Mehra.
So your question has the answer in itself. It is only the Delhi Police and the powers that be which benefit, because they were right from the beginning not interested in investigating Brij Bhushan Singh. Nobody else, not the minor, not the minor's family, not the wrestlers, not those people who have been harassed, who have been subjected to all sorts of sexual overtures and harassments. None of them are benefited out of this. So two things come out of this. Why is it that a second 164 has been recorded? Who benefits out of it? And where is it headed? Obviously, it is not the wrestlers who benefit, and where it is headed is closure. There will be no charge sheet, there will be no case, there will be no prosecution, there will be no justice. And therefore, I say investigation delayed, justice denied, and a prosecution which will have a sudden burial. And therefore, all these issues which you are actually debating today, your survey and everything, politics has to be kept separate to sports. Sports and politics, when you mix up, this is what happens. And which is why politicians across the political party lines, no matter who they might be, from those in power or in opposition, have to be ensured that they are shown the door and they are not allowed to.
But that is not happening. Everyone jumped in, from the Congress to the Aam Aadmi Party to even people like Pappu Yadav, and not to mention now we've got the interference of CAPS as well. CAPS, who, may I gently point out, haven't been particularly pro-women in the past, are now advocating for the rights of women wrestlers. But that aside, there was also a question asked about that. The Sea Voter survey asked a question about what, according to you, is it appropriate for Khap Panchayats? That was the question asked. Is it appropriate for Khap Panchayats and farmer leaders to pressure the government in the ongoing dispute between the wrestlers and the government? And here, while there were average of 55.3% who said, yes, it is okay, but a 30%, and this perhaps is the largest where we've seen sentiment against what the wrestlers' approach is. About 30% were a little uncomfortable with the involvement of Khap Panchayats, and 14.6% said, we don't know or can't say. That being said, Mithun Vijay Kumar, do you think the way in which this investigation has progressed, and to have the talks after a full 6 months, it's too little too late?
Padmaja ji, I'll come first.
And that the flip-flops about a fresh 164 statement, and the flip-flop about now Home Minister Amit Shah having a meeting, Anurag Thakur having a meeting, may actually muddy waters further, where people think, oh, this is just damage control. Mithun Vijay Kumar.
See, if the major demand is mainly that, he should be sent to jail. But, if we have to send people to jail based on public opinion, then half the politicians from Congress would be in jail, and the nation doesn't have to spend so much on judiciary and judicial services. And then there is no need for law colleges as well, because ultimately after studying for 5 years, your facts and logic would fail in front of sentiments. You see what happened in this particular case.
But sir,
Initially, they
again,
didn't go to the police.
had it been any other case, NDA voters would not be saying, put Brij Bhushan Singh in jail. Clearly, the large public sentiment is, for what? For shielding this man?
But public sentiments can't decide the law. See, the problem here is that the wrestlers didn't approach the police in the first place. They staged a protest in January. They went to police station only in April, and within few days they approached the Supreme Court saying that an FIR has not been registered, after which the FIR was registered. So there was actually a delay on their part as well. So instead of holding a protest, they should have first gone to the SHO, filed a complaint. They didn't do that. If they don't believe in the SHO, they could have gone to the higher authority in police. If they don't believe in that person as well, they could have gone to the magistrate court and filed their complaint.
Sir, even when an FIR was filed, the appropriate action wasn't taken, and you see it reflected in what the opinion over here is, where the Delhi police's investigation is found to be subpar. Let me bring you in on that, Yashwantji. The large consensus here seems to be, public sentiment cannot drive an investigation. So whether NDA voters say arrest him or UPA voters say arrest Brij Bhushan Singh, he shouldn't be arrested till the police is satisfied.
Well, I agree with that. Who wouldn't agree with, in the same way that, okay, public opinion cannot be used as the law. I mean, I understand that. But we track public opinion. We do this part of the journalism to understand how the public is perceiving. In the same, justice is not just to be done, justice is to be seen to be done as well. So public, when we say that justice is to be seen to be done as well, that is where the public perception comes in. And at this point of time, going beyond politics, going beyond caste situation, going beyond Haryana versus and UP and Thakur versus and Jat and all these things, we can sense very clearly that public is looking at it that, okay, they did not handle it properly. And somehow
that is why public sentiment matters.
Pretty much aligned with the wrestlers here.
Yes, respond.
See, how can we say that justice is not delivered? Because, see, they were okay with the oversight committee investigating this matter. They were fine with that. They wanted, one of their members to be in that committee. That was also agreed upon. They met Anurag Thakur. He assured them. The committee investigated. And we don't know what the committee has, come out with. But as far as
that is the whole point. We still don't know after all these months what the oversight committee said. The wrestlers say, we don't know what the oversight committee said. Yashwantji wants to respond. Yashwantji.
I just want to, I don't want to, interfere the law or anything, and nobody wants to in that way. What I want to say, there are two sides of the narrative of the story. One narrative is that so much was done, the wrestlers were not, approaching the right way. The other side is wrestlers are trying their best, and they are not getting anywhere, they are not getting justice. So if you understand it properly, the point of the narrative probably has not reached the public properly, or if it has reached, public is not buying. Let me be blunt with you on that thing here. If it is a war of narrative, it is a war of question of how to let the public know about this issue, then probably this part of the narrative has not worked properly. You have not done enough to make public understand what you have done and what should have been done. What the other side has done, that optics of it, probably public could have seen, could sympathize and associate it more.
Okay, Tushar Gupta will respond. Let me also get in Sunita Godara. क्या आपको लगता है कि इसको मिसहैंडल किया गया है? अगर इन्वेस्टिगेशन हो भी रहा था, जिस तरीके से हो रहा है, वो मैसेज नहीं गया है. सुनीता गोदारा.
Totally. See, the police has mishandled these our sports stars, especially female girls, all the female sports heroes very badly. From the beginning, from day one, they were mishandled very badly. And the oversight committee was out of sight because it was an eyewash, because they didn't have any power to give any punishment. Investigation was also, it's haywire. Secondly, when we have such a strong sports law where it is 10% easier and 100 times faster than the Indian courts. And Anurag Thakur, when he was an MP, that time he filed this in Parliament asking for the bill, Sports Ethics Commission, National Sports Ethics Commission. Call it panel, call it tribunal, call it disciplinary panel. If it was in place, 2003 we have all. India has signed with 203 countries. We have signed the Olympic Charter that we will have Ethics Commission. Where will these girls will go when they will have any problems, such problems? And these, federation, if they have any sexual committee, whatever. But if they have problem with the president, how can they go to the same federation? So it should be a third party outside with the retired judge, with two eminent sports persons having law knowledge. Then only the only sports law punishment, first thing, if such allegations are given, to this Brij Bhushan, he should be barred from sports for life. The federation, wrestling federation, should be barred from life. That our sports law says. But where is the system? The sports structure
put together. Let me quickly take the last question of the survey as well. What is your opinion about the protesting wrestlers taking support from other opposition parties? Initially there was still a public sentiment where people said, in January or February, for example, people said, politics should stay out of it. At Jantar Mantar, if you remember, Sakshi Malik, Vinesh Phogat stood up and said, oh, please, the left, Brinda Karat had come there. They said, please leave this place. We don't want to get involved. But now the public sentiment is, people say it's okay. It's okay to take support of political parties if that is what is needed to make your voice heard. Taking support is wrong. That's what a large number of NDA voters, they are still very uncomfortable with, the opposition jumping in and muddying waters. So an average of 38%, not very happy with opposition parties getting involved. 45% are still in support of it. Chaudhary Savit Malik, अगर हम specifically खाप की बात करें, तो खाप में लोग कह रहे हैं कि खाप का involvement इस वक्त पर बहुत अजीब लग रहा है, because then it becomes an issue of politics, of हरियाणा, जाट, कास्ट, ये सब एंगल आ रहे हैं.
पदमजा जी, अगर खाप पंचायत ना होती तो आज ये मेडल ना होते, गंगा जी में भाग गए होते. खाप पंचायत के चौधरी गए, बाबा श्याम सिंह जी और नरेश टिकैत जी, उन्होंने झोली फैलाकर खिलाड़ियों से मेडल वापस लिए और उनको भरोसा दिलाया कि हम आपकी लड़ाई लड़ेंगे. और खाप पंचायतें हमारे देश में अनंत काल से चल रही है. जब तो भारत आजाद नहीं हुआ था, उससे पहले मुगलों काल से भी पहले खाप पंचायतें बड़े बड़े फैसले लेती आई है. लेकिन हम लोग संविधान में विश्वास करते हैं, संविधान के साथ हैं, और हम लोग जो हैं खिलाड़ियों के साथ हैं.
बिल्कुल सर, तो यही तो पॉइंट है कि फैसले संविधान के हिसाब से, न्यायपालिका के हिसाब से होने चाहिए, खाप पंचायत के हिसाब से फैसले नहीं होने चाहिए. मेडल भी देश के लिए जीते गए हैं, किसी खाप के लिए नहीं जीते गए हैं.
नहीं, आप पदमजा जी ठीक कह रही है. हमने भी कहा कि हम भी चाहते हैं कि फैसले हों और हम भी कानून को मानते हैं. कानून के हिसाब से जब मेडल वापस लेकर आए, सबसे पहले मुजफ्फरनगर के सोरम में शाहरुख खाप मुख्यालय, जो पूरे भारत की खापों का मुख्यालय है, वहां पर पंचायत हुई. तो सबसे पहले यही कहा कि बातचीत का रास्ता निकालेंगे और बातचीत के रास्ते से इस मामले को हल करेंगे. हमने ये नहीं कहा कि हम कोई लड़ाई करेंगे, दंगा करेंगे, ये करेंगे. हमने और ये खाप
पंचायत. So this is not about caste affinity, Tushar Gupta. It is basically about pressuring for the cause of justice. And can you blame them, Tushar Gupta?
जब तक खाप पंचायतें
Padmaja, I don't understand how conveniently it's being said कि हमारे वहां फैसला हुआ कि हम बात करेंगे, हम दंगा नहीं करेंगे. ये मतलब जो टोन है यहाँ पर, मुझे वही बहुत गलत लग रही है. रेसलर्स को कहा गया, मिनिस्ट्री ने उनकी बात सुनी, हमें मिनिस्ट्री पर भरोसा नहीं है. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा दिल्ली पुलिस को एफआईआर रजिस्टर करिए, इन्वेस्टिगेट करिए, हमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट पे मांग रही है, हमें दिल्ली पुलिस पे भरोसा नहीं है. जंतर मंतर पे प्रोटेस्ट होता है, सरकार कुछ नहीं कहती. इंडिया गेट पे कैंडल लाइट मार्च होता है, सरकार कुछ नहीं कहती. पर आप नई पार्लियामेंट बिल्डिंग की इनॉग्रेशन पर कह रहे हैं एक हाई सिक्योरिटी जोन में आप जाकर अपना प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे, और फिर भी आप कहते हैं पुलिस आपके अगेंस्ट कोई एक्शन ना ले.
Padmaja, the problem is these might be valid, but have they been communicated properly? It all comes down to that. Was this a major lack in communication, along with lack of Yashwantji, lack of implementation, both of them brought together, because look at the takeaways. The takeaways are quite clear in the present case. When you have a majority of the people believing that the wrestlers' protests are just, a majority of the people who are NDA voters also now siding with the wrestlers, because it is not just about one community or 3 people who are sitting at Jantar Mantar. Essentially, it has become about women who people feel are being wronged and are not being treated very well. Half of the BJP voters agree that the wrestlers' cause is just. The third takeaway is that there is dissatisfaction over the police action so far. Fourth, that they feel that this is going to have electoral ramifications, and the demand to arrest Brij Bhushan Singh is just. Yashwantji, is this really going to have political ramifications, or now the government's intervention is going to do a fair bit of damage control? What's your prediction?
Well, I think they should work harder, because there is another question where we asked that, should the Prime Minister intervene? And the youth, 70% plus people said that almost yes, he should intervene, because somewhere this is not going in the right direction. So I totally agree with the panelists who are speaking on behalf of the government and the party. I agree that, okay, whatever valid points you are making, but then it is a communication failure, because your points are not being conveyed properly. The points which you are making are not reaching the public. Public is looking at the optics, and you cannot blame the public for getting it wrong. Public is emotional. They will see through it what they feel. देखो यार, वो लोग दिल से काम लेते हैं, दिमाग से उतना नहीं चलता है पब्लिक का काम. आपकी बात अगर उनके दिल तक नहीं पहुंचती है तो पब्लिक रिएक्ट करेगी. पब्लिक रिएक्ट, then sometimes it reacts very badly. But the damage control has to be done, not because there are political ramifications. Damage control needs to be done because there is justice at stake. There are people, the way people look how the justice is being done, that is more important than any political profit or loss. And that is where I think the proper action needs to be taken. At least justice should be done. And in fact, to an extent, Padmaja, that even if Honorable and Member of Parliament who is being accused here, if he feels that, I am the one who is wrong, then let the entire, justice process take its own course. If at the end of everything he is seen as the one who is wrong, then he would get what is due to him. But that's precisely what is required. People need proper processes to be followed. People need justice to be done. And more than that, people need justice to be seen as done. That is very critical point.
I'm just going to leave it at that. The government is now reaching out. Time has been sought for the next 8 days. Is there going to be not just damage control in the narrative, but in the actual sense, action taken to assuage the feelings, the hurt and the complaints of the protesting wrestlers? We'll keep a close watch. Thanks very much, gentlemen. Sunita Godaraji for joining me.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the